city of Gainesville, Florida. He is now contesting, and you may have seen him on several shows or several podcasts where he has devoured, actually have taken apart all the presidential plan from the PAPD to Joseph Boykai. Now today he is here to talk about himself, about things that he wants to do, things that he foresee, or see where Liberia going after President George Weah. In so doing, he is today going to critique the presidential or the plan for Alexander Cummings. And hopefully next week or so, you will have the chance to meet the representatives of another aspirant, Mr. Gonglo, to deal with these policy issues. The gentleman is bright. He is brilliant. I have no other than Mr. Fanel. Can you come on and tell who you are, where Liberia you're from? What makes you qualify to be the next president of the Republic of Liberia?
Well, the first thing I want to say, Mr. Gayman, thank you so very much for this opportunity, and thank you to the rest of the team out here. I want to say this. I see myself as an ordinary Liberian. I am just an ordinary man. I was born in West Point, Monrovia, Liberia. And one thing I like to emphasize always when I appear on these shows, history is made by ordinary people doing extraordinary things. What I'm trying to say is it don't matter how many degrees you have in the bag. It don't matter if you work at the World Bank. It don't matter if you work at Coca-Cola. What matters most is your capacity and ability to mobilize, inspire, and lead people. Because at the end of the day, you must be able to achieve your objectives. So I'm happy to be here. I look forward to a vibrant and very interesting debate. As always, Focus on Liberia has been very, very kind to us. So we appreciate every invitation you guys extend to us. And I'm happy to be here. I want to say welcome to Mr. Eastman and Mr. Padmo. I'm happy to be here, and I look forward to an interactive conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please do us a favor, share the show. We want everybody to come and hear this young, progressive, brilliant Liberian. We have always talked about if you want to do something in Liberia, you have to do it yourself. Stop staying abroad and criticizing, being the greatest critic. You want to do something right, do it yourself. Ben has answered our call. He has educated himself. He's well equipped, has a lot of managerial experience, which we are going to tap into. Just like Cummings have done, he have decided to go home to make the change. Share the show. Mr. Padmore.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Padmore, there you go. Thank you very much for coming on as usual. We have an hour here to debate the issue, and this is what we have always intended to do. Instead of going out there, like they say, and creating war or going into brutal, we are talking about exchange of ideas and public policy. Thank you very much for coming on. Tell us who you are and who do you support in this presidential election.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me very much. My name is Michael Padmore. I presently live in the great state of Minnesota. I was born in Monrovia, Liberia. And during these presidential elections, like the last one, I support the Alternative National Congress and Mr. Alexander Cummings for president.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jimmy Eastman, welcome to the show from the Washington, D.C. area. We have with us our brother and son and cousin, Mr. Ben, highly educated as you are, well trained in his area. He wants to give back to his country by taking the lead. Introduce yourself, where you're from, and your affiliations.
Whoa, wow, wow. Oh, gentlemen, it's an honor to be on this platform with you guys. There are so many national issues that we should talk about, to discuss, and perhaps enlighten each other about other things, other considerations, and come to a better understanding of what are the next steps. It's refreshing to see Mr. Finier with us, an aspirant I've always questioned his campaigning simply because he's in America instead of being on the ground. But I guess he will explain that today, and I will love the opportunity to see how he plans to make a difference. Well, I'd like to also say we all, as Liberians, each one of us can make an impact in Liberia. You don't have to be a president. For some of us, it has become the only way to bring about change to Liberia. But I think, like Mr. Finn was saying, every individual, ordinary people can make a difference. So it's a pleasure.
Uh, Ben, may I call you by first name?
Well, you can call me by my middle name, please.
Okay.
Mr. Kofa.
Okay.
Kofa.
Mr. Kofa, thank you very much. Now, being I am a supporter of the CDC, so I have to be a little neutral, but I have to have that disclaimer. You have taken upon yourself to put yourself in the limelight, like in the Bassa tradition. They say if you go to a blacksmith, you are actually looking for your tail to be stretched. That means when the metal get hot, that's when you can stretch it. So now you are sitting on a hot seat, and obviously we are going to stretch your tail here for a while. Now let's talk about why you intend to be. When did you decide to be president? What are your plans? And how are you going to implement these plans? I know I'm getting questions already on my phone. One say, we got 16 months to go to next election. We have not seen the friends of Ben Fanier. We have not seen an office on the ground. We have not seen an infrastructure that will propel you to the executive mansion. So answer all of these and tell us exactly where you are. And then we'll do the comparison and contrast between you and Mr. Cummings.
The first thing I want to start with is that I think all of us on this show today, I would say I have a reasonable expectation that most of us are versed in terms of what is transpiring in the world. Let me just give one example. Francois Macron in France. Today, he's the leader of France. He formed his team. He even announced that he was going to partake in the election in France. 6 months toward the election day. 6 months, you can check that out. But you see, it's not the matter of how much large your team is. It's not how big your team is. It's not how formidable your infrastructure is. The most important thing here is the clamor of the Liberian people for genuine change. That's the most important aspect. I don't want us to lose sight of that. I will tell you this: if you ask many Liberians right now, if you survey many Liberians, they will tell you that people are frustrated with the administration, and they are equally frustrated with the opposition. Number one, for lack of organization. Number two, for lack of a clear path in terms of what they intend to do and in terms of where they intend to take Liberia. So it doesn't matter how large a team is. It doesn't matter how big a team is. And I want to stress this. I will be contesting as an independent candidate. I don't have any party structure. All I have to do is show up at the NEC office at the requisite time that the NEC would announce. Registration time and registered. That's all we need to do. But I want to say this. The majority of the Liberian people, a significant majority, they are clamoring for change. For too long, we have had what I would call false starts and false saviors. So I don't want to get locked up into how big your team is. Cummings, we can equally talk about him. He has no constituency. It don't matter what he has. What is most important is the message that he has, and how much integrity he brings. So it's not how much degree you got in the bag, how large your team is, whether you go to Liberia every day. No. We have to be exemplary leaders. Let me say one thing before I stop, and I want to emphasize this thing over and over again. Cummings has a mantra that I will emphasize on this show over and over. He said, we cannot do the same thing over and over and expect different results. Unfortunately, Mr. Cummings got caught up in doing the same thing, and he's expecting different results. So, that's just a brief of where I am and my organizational staff. I do have team on the ground as well as I have team here. I think I told you guys just before the show that I have a meeting with my team. So I don't want to make this about me. I want to make this about the Liberian people and actually true democracy and change. Last thing I want to say before I end. Cummings held what we call a democratic primary. Democratic means full participation. He held a democratic primary for the ANC in which he was the only candidate. He was the only candidate on the ballot. Now, let somebody convince me of not doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. Thank you.
You're muted, Mr. Gibbon. Well, can I come in?
Yeah, Mr. Padmo, go ahead.
Please. Okay, so there's a couple of things here, and I'm hoping that that as Mr. Kofa speaks, I'm hoping he's respectful of the great integrity that Mr. Cummings has built over his 50-year career. Mr. Cummings did not hold a primary. The party, the Alternative National Congress, held a primary. That primary was open. There was a process to it. It was announced. There was communication clear out throughout the party. There was an invitation of candidates. If people choose not to contest, that is not Mr. Cummings' fault. And I don't believe that should be a blemish on him, because other people see him and see the leadership quality in him and choose not to contest. I'm hoping here that instead of us throwing these petty blemishes at such an honorable man, I'm hoping that we can speak with deep thought on what he has done and how he continues to carry himself and what he hopes to do for the Liberian people come 2023. Thank you.
Jimmy,
I just want to come back to that, please.
Yeah, go ahead, respond.
Cummings has another line. I'm using his own words. I'm verbally quoting him. He said, the best predictor of future behavior and future performance is past behavior and past performance. Now, we have an individual within a democratic setting, as my friend just said, where the ANC launched a primary and there was one candidate. Now, I would like somebody to convince me, how democratic is that? I mean, Michael is trying to tell me that nobody in the ANC has aspirations. Nobody has. And I will respectfully disagree with that and not believe that. But I want to stress this. Mr. Cummings said it loud and clear. The best predictor of future behavior and future performance is past behavior and past performance. So I can use this as a basis to imagine that future events in Liberia under his administration will literally be so say one, so say all. And that is very undemocratic. Thank you.
I'd like to ask a couple of questions to the aspiring candidate. Mr. Finn, I really appreciated your words that ordinary Liberians can make a big difference in Liberia. But for you, you feel the way that you want to do it is to become president of the nation. My first question to you is, have you ever held a high political position before? Number two, are you already well known to the Liberian people? And what has been your past experience that qualifies you for just to be a people leader and run an entire country? What kind of experience do you have prior to this that makes you capable of doing this?
Okay, you see, that is an interesting point, Mr. Eastman. I really like that. You see, I will answer the last one first. Politics is a science by itself. It needs to be studied and researched. You see, when we talk about experiences, Mr. Gilman, I think he can attest to this. There have been many what I would call athletes. NFL, we have bust, like people who came with resumes, very impressive resumes, very impressive, and they turn out to be busts. Let me bring it to Liberia. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, she was heralded.
Sorry to interrupt, but
No.
Mr. Finn, I want you to talk about yourself,
I'm
not other
answering the
people.
question.
I want you to talk about yourself.
I'm answering the question, please. I'm answering the question. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was advertised as she worked at the World Bank. She had extensive experience, extensive. She turned out to be corrupt and incompetent. I mean, she left Liberia literally in shambles. Let me tell you about my experience. I worked as an IT officer earlier on in 1999, Ghana. I worked there for 2 years, up to the time that I left. Up to the time that I left, I was hired in 2001 by the United Nations. I was sent to Mongolia as an information technology officer. I worked for the United Nations for 2 years. After that, I moved to Germany. Somebody's trying to call me. And I worked there for 2 years. Then I moved to the States in 2004. I got hired as what they call retail automation specialist for Walmart. I worked with them for 14 years. I'm into the back end IT, 14 years. Right now, I'm managing what I call a regional consultancy. I work in Seattle, Washington, Vancouver, Canada, Toronto, Canada, as well as Toronto, Canada. Now, I want to say this. You see, it's not how impressive your CV is. It's not how impressive your CV is. It's your ability and your capacity to get things done. Let me give you one last example before I end here, before I go to your next thing. Cummings has exhibited very poor leadership. He has not been able to even manage the ANC. As we speak right now, the ANC is split into 2 camps. It's split into 2 camps. I'm telling you this thing because Padmore here, who's back him, Padmore wasn't there when I was affiliating with the ANC. Me and a few others, we initiated ANC USA. Padmore wasn't there. Cummings, when he came in, he literally, because like I said today in my post, because of poor judgment and poor understanding of politics, he broke the ANC into 2 camps. We have 2 ANC right now, 2 in the United States. So Cummings' experiences, his work, didn't translate into politics. He doesn't understand it. So he mismanaged the ANC, which I will not do because I understand management in terms of you have to be able to manage crisis. The last thing I want to say on that point, let's look at how the CPP was handled. Look at the CPP. Let me give you something. Cummings sat and the CPP literally collapsed. We talk about leadership. We talk about having the capacity to solve problems. We talk, this is going above and beyond the call in terms of managing expectations. The CPP literally collapsed. Why he was there in? I understand there were other things happening, but he was the man to take leadership because he rose to the pinnacle in the United States. I expected more from him, and he failed. The last point I want to say, you asked if I've ever held any a political job. I will say this. I affiliated with the CDC, and for the time that I was there, I was a member of the National Executive Committee of the CDC USA. One of my things was organizing the local chapters, like bringing them together and make sure that they stay intact. Well, let me tell you this, my brother. One of the key things that I see with Liberia is what I would call managing expectations. You see, when you lead any group, no matter how large it is, as a manager, you must be able to resolve problems. And that's what Mr. Cummings has been woeful. It is literally embarrassing to see him manage these two great organizations where that they have grinded to a halt.
So can I ask the gentleman?
Well, can I land? Then I can go, please. Okay, you know, Mr. Finn, I noticed that you spent 75% of the time now talking about other candidates, other people, and only 25% talking about yourself. I'm asking you, what great contributions have you made to your community, to your society, that makes you qualified to be a president of a nation? And I also noticed that you mentioned
Please,
working in
I want to
Ghana.
answer that. No,
No,
let's go so we don't
I
lose time.
just want to put it all together.
Let me answer that. No. Don't go too far because you will complicate it.
Okay,
let me answer it if you go on.
Go ahead.
Now you see, when you speak like that, Mr. Eastman, consider you as my friend, brother. I think to a large extent it betrays your understanding of politics. You don't look at me as an individual. You look at an institution. Let me tell you, you ask me, say, what have I done? Almost like personally. I don't have to do anything for anybody. In leadership, I have to set up systems. I have to set up frameworks that will benefit people. So even if I die today, that benefit future generations. So I don't have to do anything personal for anyone. I have to advocate for the establishment of structures and frameworks that will benefit people long after I'm gone. So I don't have to do anything for anyone. I don't have to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Padmore, real quick. We're going to spend about 5 more minutes in this. Then I want us to actually go into the meat of the argument. Since you are here, 1 minute, Padmore. Then I'm going to ask you for the ANC or Ellis Cummings' education plan. And then I'm going to contrast that with what Mr. Fanel has as his education plan, and then we'll debate it too. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Padmore.
So Mr. Kofa, Mr. Finney, whatever he calls himself today, so he spilled out a lot of things out there, okay? He talked about Mr. Cummings running a political party. He talked about Mr. Cummings being part of the CPP, okay? And then he talked about himself being part of the CDC. So first I'm going to address certain things he said, and then I have a few questions for Mr. Kofa. Okay? The first thing is that let's make some corrections. The ANC is not split at any level. The ANC as a political party is one unified force established in the Republic of Liberia. The ANC has auxiliary units all across the world. Okay? In the US, several of them. Because as a party you have several auxiliary fronts, doesn't mean that you are split, my brother. Okay? So I could sit here and list off at least 7 of them. You're talking about 2. I can list at least 7 ANC auxiliaries that are here just in the US off the top of my head. So please stop. I'm hoping that as a fresh person in politics, that you stay away from the innuendos and these false denigrating assumptions. I have a question for you. You said that you are a member of the CDC. My question to you is, when did you join the CDC? When did you leave the CDC?
Okay, let me just answer that first. I joined the CDC in 2009. I left the CDC days after Mr. Weah was inaugurated.
Thank you very much. So is it fair to say that you are one of the reasons why Liberia is where it is today? That you are one of those people that helped put in place a man that you knew personally was incompetent to run the country, and yet you put all your resources and all of your efforts, your time, your money into bringing George Weah in, and that the Liberian people can hold you personally responsible in your judgment to do such?
Okay, let me answer that. You see, unlike the ANC that has no documentation in terms of its programs, in terms of what they intend to do. I'm talking about written documentation in terms of their programs. The ANC has none. I want to tell you this. The CDC, when I joined, at my insistence, in 2011, when we were going to that election, insisted that the party had a documentation in terms of the plans for Liberia. We developed what we call the Transformation for Change Plan. That's 2011. The last election, I also insisted that we go to the election with a platform. And I will tell you this, I can pat myself on the back. Because of my insistence, we came up with what we call the Propo Agenda for Change. That is, it was called at the time, Hope for Change. What I'm telling you is this. When a party,
you're not answering the question.
No, I'm answering the question. What I'm telling you is this. A party is made out of a group of individuals that have a plan in terms of where they want to take a nation state. When we make that plan, when we invest time and energy and draft the plan, and we win an election, and a few actors deviate from that plan, I don't know how you can hold me accountable for that. I don't know how you can hold me accountable for that. No, excuse me. Let me land. 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 I'm just telling you that when we made a plan upon which we won an election, and let me tell you this, that was the basis for my resignation, because I stated that the party deviated from the blueprint that we had, and I think you should rather respect me for that. We had a blueprint.
A question. Thousands of Liberians are listening to you. Thousands and thousands.
Go ahead.
Stated, and I'll give you another opportunity. When did you leave the CDC?
I told you a few days after the inauguration. That's what I told you.
You are informing the Liberian people that you wrote a whole book.
No.
Let me finish.
Don't.
You insisted on a whole book.
No. Don't get it wrong.
On a whole book. Okay.
An individual cannot write a platform. It's a collective effort. Don't get me wrong here.
You told us that you insisted on the whole book.
I insisted that there must be a platform before we go to the election.
Okay. And you are telling me that you saw George Weah as the candidate for CDC, and you were telling CDC, supporting CDC, pushing CDC forward, knowing very well that George Weah was incompetent, totally incompetent. And you waited until after you had delivered him to the Liberian people. You had delivered basically a tragedy and crisis to the Liberian people. Then you withdrew your hands. You wash your hands away.
No, hold on.
Now I have done my damage. Now I'm going to go now and run against it. Is that what you are telling the Liberian people?
No. I think you are being you are being over dramatic. But the effects it just flawed, because I don't understand what you're saying. George Weah is an individual. He's not the party. We have a party that is made out of thousands of Liberians, hundreds of thousands of them. So what I'm telling you is, I was part of a people's movement that was hell-bent on transforming the lives of the Liberian people. That's what I'm telling you. Mr. Weah happens to be a part of that structure. So if he's leading it and he's moving away from what we planned, I have every right and responsibility to withdraw myself, because like I said, I made sure that we had an agenda. So you can be dramatic as much as you want. I'm just telling you, maybe the ANC people see Cummings as the ANC. No, I do not see George Weah as the CDC. The CDC is made out of hundreds of thousands of Liberians that together will move Liberia. If one man deviates, you can't hold me responsible for that. Thank you.
You are informing the Liberian people.
Thank you.
You are informing the Liberian people that 2 days after the election, you knew very well that the CDC had deviated and that it was time for you to leave.
No.
Is that what you're informing the Liberian people?
Mr. Padmore, Mr. Fanel, we're running out of time here. Let's get to the meat of leadership, public policy here. You have, I have read most of your platform, and I'm looking at the education piece. Mr. Padmore, let us go mano a mano. Let's look at policy here, because that's what's going to set you apart from the next candidate. Education. What is Mr. Cummings' education plan? What is the education policy?
Mr. Gaiman? I'm not here today to present Mr. Cummings' platform. Mr. Cummings can do that himself in his own space, in his own timing, and to the best of his ability. I believe that Mr. Kofa is here today to present to the Liberian people. I think he should be given an opportunity to present his plan, and then we can all critique it.
Mr. Kofa 23.
Yes.
To me, as a host and a conductor, that tells me that a man who represents the ANC telling me that they have no plan. Mr. Kofa, this is an opportune time for you to give us your plan because it is well laid out here. Tell us the educational plan because ANC has just told us they have no plan. I guess you have looked to that in the past.
You see, this is what makes me afraid of the ANC. The ANC is supposed to be filled to the brim with Liberia's best and brightest. Now, we are talking about leading a nation. There are no documentation in terms of the roadmap for the future.
That is not true. That is not true.
Hold on a second, sir. You had your chance.
You can't interrupt because you had a chance.
There are no documentation in terms of a roadmap. Now, we have a representative. At the very least, he should be able to give us the frameworks of ANC education plan. Not only that, he should be able to direct us in terms of where we can go and see this plan so that we can read it. These are not things that are hidden. That's why at the onset of this show, I gave you guys my website. Let me tell you this, it's a tragedy. Mr. Cummings rose to the pinnacle.
Can we hear your plan, please? Why are we talking about Mr. Cummings?
Mr. Cummings rose to the pinnacle. But he is unable to assemble a team that will give Liberian people a basis for his candidacy. Just a basis. Tell us that I will do X, Y, and Z. And these are the documentation. So what happened? Let me tell you why that is important. After you win the election, the public can use that as a basis to hold you accountable. In terms of, you said X, Y, and Z, why are they not happening? Let me tell you this. I can tell you my plan for Liberia in terms of education. I have critical frameworks. The first thing I will tell you, the first thing of my plan, pre-primary, primary, secondary education, they will be free and mandatory. Let me tell you why.
When you say free, please explain. You talking about government schools or private schools?
That's what I'm saying. They will be free and mandatory. That means free and mandatory means government schools. Free and mandatory. Let me tell you why free. Free is for access. We want to reform Liberia to an extent where, at the very least, a lot of our people will have the capacity to read and write. That's number one. Number two, mandatory because we want to guarantee every Liberian child, everyone, a future. A child without an education is literally a lost child. So that's why we say one, it is free and it's mandatory. That's pre-primary, primary, and secondary. Now, the next thing we're going to ensure is standardization. Now, let me tell you why that's important. Whether you live in Cape Mount, whether you live in Grangita, hold on now. No matter where you live in Liberia, the curriculum will be the same. It will be unified so that everybody will have similar education. Standardization will also affect those who sit in the classroom in terms of those who teach. The teachers, every teacher will be certified before you enter a class. There must be some kind of baseline in terms of who teach. Anybody cannot teach. Now, the third step, we will go to what we call the facilities. I will tell you this: you cannot open anything and call it school. You cannot open anything and call it school. We must have what we call standardized framework in terms of what constitutes a school. Number one, it should be an enabling environment that will facilitate education. You must have safety. You must have someone for the children to recreate. And you must have at least a nurse available so in case somebody gets sick. Those are some of the basics of our framework. Now, let me tell you the most important part. We will ensure that every government-run high school have how we run a parallel elective program. Electives. auto mechanic, mason. I mean, we would just have electives so that people, once they leave high school, at the very least, they can be able to fend for themselves.
Great.
University
Yeah.
education, last thing I want to say,
Okay.
university education would not be free. I think that was a wrong move. It would be subsidized. It would not be free. Thank you.
I have a few questions, please.
Yeah, real quick.
Okay.
You know, as it relates to public policy, all of these things you are talking about sounds great. You have done a lot of research, but me as a manager, somebody who puts the pedal to the road, I want to know, how are you going to pay for all of these things? Like Delano Roosevelt used to say, I cannot promise you that they're going to be chicken in every part in this country, but I'm going to make sure that you work. Now you are promising pre-education, which I support because it's something that we call the feeder program. These kids got to be ready to get to primary school and so forth, eventually into the college system. But it comes at a cost, hefty cost. Tell me how you're going to pay for this.
Yes. You see, you know, this is some of the critical issues I wish Mr. Cummings was talking about. What you just asked me amounts to priorities in our national budget. Mr. Gayman, we are all on this show. Just a few days ago, we all learned that our legislature got $3.6 million under the banner of constituent engagement. Now, what is that? You see, these things, they should be informed by doing the right things. Let me tell you this. Education is too crucial. We will cut waste. We cannot be paying legislature and give them additional funds. You talk about $3.6 million in terms of constituents engagement. I would cut that off. I would cut that off. And let me tell you one key point. The legislature, I will tell you this, we will negotiate with them to an extent where they will be able to earn a maximum of $2,000, no more than that. Because the monies of the country should go towards social and economic development. That's what the budget is used for. Mr. Cummings has said nothing about these things. Look at the budget appropriation. Look how we waste money.
Not true, man.
And look how we waste money. Okay. We are spending on the wrong priority items. We have to prioritize education, healthcare, and poverty. We have to prioritize those three things. Thank you, sir.
Great. Let me call the numbers out here for those who want to join. You can call in at any time. We're going to have a time for you to call in. If you have questions for Mr. Fennell, you have questions for Mr. Patmore, it will be great to answer those. We got a comment section here going. We see it's busting, and that's very good. We want you to this is your country. This is where we are. We are talking about 16 months from now. Who leads our country? Who are these people? What qualities they bring to the table? How trustworthy are these folks? So we are discussing these issues today. Those of you who are there who have other ideas, take us to task. Take Mr. Patmore to task. Take Mr. Fennell to task. Take me to task because I support the government. Mr. Patmore, real quick, before we go into other things, you see you have a question for?
Yeah, I have just two simple questions for Mr. Fennell. One, he talked about free government schools. I'm sorry, but am I missing something here? Government schools have always been free in Liberia. You pay a registration and that's it. You don't pay tuition to go to government schools. So I don't understand what this thing you are coming. That just tells me you are not informed. You are totally not informed. And to send my point home, I'm going to ask you a question. Can you tell the audience here the number of school-age students in Liberia right now that you are creating all these plans for, that you've done all this research for? Can you give us a number of right now in Liberia, the number of students, the number of school-age kids that attend government schools? Can you give us that number?
Mr. Padmo, once more, it is unfortunate that you are standing, in the place of ANC. I mean, it's unfortunate. You just said that government school has always been free. Then you say you have to pay for registration. It's unfortunate that you will say that. That's a contradiction. You see, when we say free, with your mindset, maybe you don't, you can't grasp what we're talking about. Not only free education, but it must be quality education. What kind of classroom you sitting now in? Who is going to teach the students? When we say rearranging costs, that means the teacher. No. Excuse me, sir. The teacher that stands before the student, he must not only be well paid, but he should be qualified. The classroom should be equipped. It comes with a cost. It comes with a cost. So you're telling me free because and the same time you tell me somebody pays for something else. We talk about quality of education. Maybe I can bet you this. A lot of the people within the ANC who live, maybe not even in the United States, outside Liberia, they will not feel comfortable with their children attending government schools as they are now in Liberia.
Would you?
They will not feel. I don't feel comfortable. That's what I want to change it.
Okay.
That's what I want to change it.
Okay, real quick.
He hasn't answered the question.
Wait,
one minute.
In Liberia.
I would dismiss that question because it makes no sense.
So you don't know.
I would dismiss it. No, it makes no sense.
You are Liberian people that you are creating.
It makes no sense. I would dismiss it. You see, it shows that you have nothing to offer. Mr. Gamer, let's go to the next question.
Gentlemen,
thank you very much.
Let's go to the next question.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Gamer, I think I have one more question. Yes,
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Finn.
Yes, sir.
I want to give you a chance
Yeah.
to make your case to the Liberian people.
Thank you, sir.
As you alluded to, you're somebody who's more adept in politics than some of us. That is fine. I want to ask you. You say you don't have to do anything for Liberians. So people like George Weah, who put Liberia on his back when things were hard, supported national team, support different people needing help. People like Alex Cummings who have different programs going on in Monrovia, Liberia, scholarships and all of that. Joseph Boakai, who has served 40 years, the Liberian people. You without a track record in Liberia, you with the notion that you don't have to do anything for Liberian people. What is our guarantee? What assurance we Liberian people have that you, Mr. Ben Finn, who has never done anything for anybody, will be able to do anything? What guarantee are you giving us?
Okay, Mr. This is what I would tell you, Mr. Eastman. I find it very interesting because, to a large extent, I see you as equating humanitarian works or substituting humanitarian works for actionable and sound policy. You see, let me tell you this. What you are telling me, you want our society to almost be dependent on individuals. I want a Liberian that is dependent on systems. I don't want, because I will tell you this, you just made a good case. You said, George, supported the Liberian team. What if Georgia was not there? What if George wasn't, he wasn't there? So what you are doing, you are substituting humanitarian acts for sound policy. And that is the wrong way to go. Me and you, we should be advocating institutionalized systems that will help our people long after we are gone. Let me tell you one thing. Right now, I see all the politicians saying, oh, we got scholarship. In most countries, that will be illegal. That is the indirect buying votes. When they put those children on their scholarships, those children, their parents will be forced to vote for them. Let me tell you this. Politicians who want to send people to school, they should give that money to the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education should manage the scholarship program. It's not the individual names on it. We cannot substitute humanitarian action for sound policies. And that's why our society now is heavily dependent. We can't do that. And I will not do that. I will tell you this, I will not do anything for anyone personally, but I will advocate for the establishment of structures, systems, and framework that will benefit the people. So long after I'm gone, this system will still be there. Last case, Dillon, the last time, Dillon said he would give Monserrato County $5,000 every month from his pay. What a bluff. I mean, what a disgrace. What happens if he dies? Monserrato don't have 5,000? You don't do that. You establish the framework, the necessary system, so that the country benefits.
Well, Mr. Finn, I said, what guarantee you have. We saw other people champion community projects, championing issues. What are the issues that face Liberia now? What guarantee that Mr. Finn will go there and solve them? What guarantee we get from you? I'm not asking you about the other people. I'm asking you about Ben Finn. Talk about yourself.
I would say this: when we aspire for office, right? People should gauge us. They should weigh us based on the programs that we are advocating, quality of those programs. I will tell you this: I want people to come, read about me, and listen to me. And when you vote as a personal choice. If you feel I can do what I want to do for you, vote for me. If you feel George Weah can do what I want to do for you, vote for George Weah. If you feel Cummings without a plan can do for you, then vote for him. But what I want to tell you is this thing about Liberia should be based on the superiority, the practicality of someone's ideas. It shouldn't be based on what I can do for you. No. What system can I put in place? That's what it should be based on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hopefully, if we have any calls, we want to please make sure we get our call. We have tons of comments here. We're going to be reading them soon. I know Mr. Patmore is giving us an hour here. We're getting very close to that time. Let's look at quick. Okay, we're looking at Mr. Blama or Hinnen. He said, Mr. Finn, your plan or your promises are not based on data and facts. How many public schools are in Liberia? How many will it cost your government to standardize public schools? That's for Hina. If you want, you can take down some of these questions, or you want to do them one at a time. And then let's go to Mr. Popo. He said, nobody will vote for you, my brother. You put your money to good use. Just put your money to good use. I don't know what that means. Okay. Facebook user Ben here is ANC focus area. Alternative National Congress ANC focus area. The economy, job creation, technology, infrastructure, agriculture, education, health, women and youth. A Facebook user, that's not what we are looking for. Thank you for the comment. Kai Jabo. It seems like Kofa was sent here by the CDC to attack Mr. Cummings. Sorry about that, Kofa. But ANC is the incoming government, count 2023. We will make it. Okay. From Livingston, if election is held between Mr. Cummings and Mr. Fan, I will vote for Mr. Fan over Mr. Cummings. Now
we have callers.
Okay, yes. Please, your name and where you calling from?
Go ahead, caller.
Your name and where you calling from?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I have a question for Mr. Benjamin K. Farm, if I may. A few questions, actually.
Please go ahead.
Mr. Ben, I stand to be corrected, but you stated that when my senior brother Michael asked you that you left the CDC the day after the inauguration of John Weah because somebody deviated from the blueprint. John Weah just entering office, not even a month. How can you deviate from the blueprint when he didn't even sit in the chair yet to even carry on the plan? That's one. Two, you telling us that, you were about to change the first branch of government activity, which means you had no negotiation power. Because that's why everybody don't understand. The legislature, the first branch of government, they allocate for themselves and they can do more than you think. If you don't have the negotiating power, they can even make millions of dollars off your administration back and you will hold the bucket at the end of the ring. Yelling into the theater that's fire is a problem for a lot of people because if you don't negotiate with people, this is why Eastman were asking you, cabinet strategy is the best thing you can do. Negotiation between parties. You're talking all this thing. I don't know if your party has to 10 majority of the House. I don't know. So I don't know how you're going to pass bill on those technicalities if you are actually running for president. You are no different for AMC. AMC had no legislature. They had no senator. You fall into that same category.
Thank you. Let's take our next caller. Caller, your name and where you call?
Hi, gentlemen. This is Randy. This is Randy. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. Call your phone name.
Yes,
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so let me say hi to Jerome Gilmore. Jerome Gilmore, the comment you read about the Facebook user that will actually be Jay Rainey, a strong supporter of Mr. Alexander Cummings. I'm just here to make a quick comment and get out of here. Mr. Ben Frank, the first comment here is, he hasn't been to Liberia. Nobody knows in Liberia. He got one people flying around. I don't know whether Liberia has another country that is online. Perhaps that's where he's going to be running. And he will make history. He become the first internet president of Liberia. Because as far as we are concerned, he's not on the ground. He hasn't been on the ground. And people know that. Number two, the ANC has a vision. Well, let me start with what Mr. Cummings has done. I think I posted that already. As an individual, Mr. Cummings has donated a lot of things to the people of Liberia, starting with our generators, improving school systems. There's a school of science and technology in there. All right, Mr. Cummings has helped to re-roof the agricultural college in Grand Bassa County. The list go on and on. And Mr. Brown, you are welcome on August the 1st to join me here to see what Mr. Cummings has done. And then lastly, Mr. Cummings has a vision. His vision is to focus one on the agricultural sector. He wants to create jobs. He wants to also create an economy that will provide jobs. And he also going to focus on the rule of law. These are many things that he has on his plate, on his vision. So please, don't go out there and be sending misinformation about Mr. Cummings, because it's not going to help you. He has at least 4 focus areas: the economy and job creation, technology and infrastructure, agriculture, education, health, women and youth, and inclusion, and lastly, national security. Mr. Cummings is concerned about the infrastructure. There is something Mr. Cummings is seriously concerned about, and that is called the critical infrastructure in the country. When RIA go down, when the Port Authority is down, these are some of the critical infrastructure that Mr. Cummings is trying to liaison with the national security in the country. I agree with Mr. Ben coming on here, but when you say you left CDC right after Joe React took office, I think that is a very weak point on your part, because I left CDC after Mr. Weah started to appoint people who were not part of the party, who were not committed to the party, and he started to do the same thing that we all voted against. So I think when you come out and say you just left the party, Ben, I'm sorry, my brother, but that is a very weak argument. There's a call coming in. I'll take my call. I thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Okay. Let's take the last call, gentlemen. Call out your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, this Joe Money. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Joe, go ahead.
Okay. Look, my friend Ben, I don't see him as a serious candidate. Ben may be he's a pretty good analyst. He's good at critiquing. That's where I think that has been his focus over the years. I still think that he's a sympathizer of CDC. In fact, I still think that he's a member of CDC. He hasn't told us about any party that he's running on, whether he's an independent candidate or not. He has not articulated that. So I just figure out the fact that he has some time on his hands and, he do these things, but nobody should take my Ben seriously. And he will go right back to the coop, go back to CDC and be a part of that organization. But he's a pretty good analyst. He's a pretty good talker. I got to give him that. But he's not a serious candidate.
Talk is cheap.
Thank you. Mr. Fennell, I know you have a lot.
Yes.
One of the things before I go to Mr. Ben here, COFA 2023, when these folks call and you say all of these things that your candidate want to do, but we don't see anything in writing.
Mr. Gayman, don't do that thing, man. Mr. Gayman, I'm not gonna allow you to do that. Don't let me be too late today. I'm not gonna do that.
Mr.
The ANC has a platform. In due time, the ANC will present a platform.
Excuse me, sir.
Other people can come and start picking.
Excuse me.
Mr.
Padmore, please. Okay.
Mr. Cummings
Let me just answer this thing first.
Mr. Cummings ran 5 years ago. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Gayman, wait a second. Now, you see, I will start with Randy first. It is unfortunate Sorry, it is unfortunate because to some extent, I'm saddened by this. Mr. Randy lists a few things, and he claims that he in the camp of the ANC. But I can tell you this, if you have another ANC member right here, they will not be even able to say what Randy said. If you ask 10 ANC members, you have 10 different views in terms of what the ANC is going to do. That shows a lack of discipline and a lack of documentation. But let me tell you one thing. He mentioned something that we've been talking about on this show. He said Mr. Cummings has donated something to some people in Liberia. We should not be interested in building a nation that is focused or that is heavily influenced by humanitarian plans. Liberia is rich enough. Let me tell you this. Google it now. Just Google on your phone. Why is Liberia poor? They will tell you that a significant number of the resources in Liberia remains untapped. You cannot be living on a gold mine and you are a beggar. What we need to do, we need leadership that will actually channel the energy of the people in terms of self-sufficiency. That is, that is saying, okay, let me just speak to the last individual who spoke. He said he don't know if I'm independent. Let me declare this. I am an independent candidate. I am an independent candidate. I said this thing from the onset of the show. And he said, oh, this guy is not serious. And once again, it's unfortunate that somebody will take some time to listen to a show almost to the end of the show and waste all that valuable time, because when we are, time is money, and say the guy is not serious. So I will say this, I respect your opinion, I welcome it, but I'm serious and I want to ensure that Liberia gets better. Let me go to the first individual who called. He said, if I will not negotiate with the legislature, I want to encourage all of us to go and watch the tape. What I said I will negotiate with the legislature to ensure that they reduce their pay to 2,000, because the budget of every country should be in the interest of the people. It should be geared in terms of improvement of the state socially and economically. So most of the money should go to programs that will benefit the people. Let me just say one thing in that regard. America has trillions of dollars in terms of budget every year. 65%, Google that, my brothers, 65% of the budget of America goes back to the people. Social Security is the largest expense in the American budget. Social Security.
That is not true. That is not true.
Google it and let's see.
The largest expense in the
now, let me tell you now, the next expense, Medicare, Medicaid. I'm telling you, 65% of the budget of America goes back to the people. So what we are saying that priorities should be placed on the Liberian people, improving their lives, improving their living condition. Last thing I want to say, Randy asked, when did I leave? But let me tell you this. After George Weah was inaugurated, 2 days after, there was a meeting that was held. Some of the discussion, I don't think I'm authorized to say them here.
Why not?
Some of no. Some of the discussion, some of the decisions that was made, I publicly raised my disagreements.
Wow.
And I thought they were too significant. They were significant. And I'll tell you this, as a man of integrity, a man who stands on his word, I will not be party to that. I will not be. You see, this is not about me. It's not what I get. It's about Liberia. Thank you, and thank you to our guests. Thank you, everybody. Mr. Amigeme, I have a meeting that I'm a little bit late, and I'm not usually late, so I want to close this program. Thank you.
Mr. Sunday, I got a question from a gentleman by the name of Gezima Walama. He called, he couldn't get on. He wants to know, I think you have preferred people wearing military uniform in the streets and being militarily. Can you address that? Have you ever made that comment?
Well, I think, Gezima, these are the kind of jobs that people throw that are insignificant. We're talking about a critical issue about the improvement of the state, and somebody is bringing some triviality. I want to say this. Gezima is a good friend of mine. We usually talk all the time. And I just think he's one of those people who support the ANC. And for them, when they throw these jabs, they are meant to distract you. I want to tell him, I want to encourage him. Let's focus on the betterment of Liberia. Whether you're in ANC or you're in the UP, you are in whatever party, let's focus on the development of Liberia. So I will just dismiss that with a wave of the hand.
Thank you, Mr. Fennell. You promised us an hour. If you want to,
I have a question for the man before the man leaves. Why you rushing the man? Give me.
No, I have a meeting. I'm late. My meeting started at 7.
You're speaking to the people, to the Liberian people.
I do understand that, but I also have obligations to other Liberian people too.
Your team will understand. You're speaking to your voters, your potential voters. You're going to abandon them for your team?
Mr. Padmore,
I have a question for you. Please, let the man take the question.
At the inception, I want to be fair. At the inception of this program, the man said he had a security advisor meeting at 1 hour turn. He was supposed to leave, and we agreed. So, Mr. Fennell,
the man has not. Can the man take my question? Here. Let him decide.
Now,
if your time doesn't permit you, I understand. We want you to come
back.
Let
the man decide.
Mr. Gaiman, yes. One thing I want to do. I want to leave. I want to say thank you to Mr. Padmore, thank you to Mr. Eastman, and thank you to yourself. I want to say this. I like this kind of engagement because we can disagree to agree. But at the end of the day, it is the interest of Liberia. I want to thank the audience. I want to thank those who agree with me, those who disagree with me. The only thing I want them to take away from this thing, this interaction, is that Liberia is of utmost importance. And when anyone is doing anything to help Liberia, it shouldn't be on an individual basis. I'm talking about humanitarian work. It should be the implementation or the erection of sustainable programs that will serve Liberians long after that person is gone. And last thing I want to say, I find it unfortunate, I find it regrettable, I find it shameful that up to today's date, the ANC don't have documentation of their plan. Thank you, and you guys have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fennell. Hopefully you can come back to Mr. Padmore. Mr. Eastman.
Yes.
Okay. You need to adjust your camera a little bit.
Okay. Let me try to adjust it a little bit.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, you go. Now you are a centrist.
Okay.
Before then you were too far left. But you are centrist now. Yeah. Let's discuss the issue here. I know we're running out of time. We got 10 more minutes here. Your takeaway from the discussion.
I heard most of the time I've heard, in fact, one caller captured Mr. Finn. He said, we have been hearing your good critique. He has criticized the government. He's devastated the Bwakai candidacy. He decried it. He's as you heard him, he was going into the Cummings and candidacy as well. He's been a great critique, but he failed to establish a few things here. Number one, how can we believe in him? Just because he says these things doesn't mean he will do them. We have seen these people be wolves in sheep clothing. He says he's worked in Ghana. Does he have dual citizenship over there? How can he work in Ghana and come? Because nobody works in Ghana unless you have some good credibility in Ghana. He says he has all these plans and programs, but he has yet to go establish in Liberia, to go to Liberia. When last has he been there? He has yet to meet the criteria. But, we can't stop anybody for saying they're raising their hand. But for any real serious attraction, I think he's a statistician by nature, but he doesn't like a few things that happen. I don't understand how he left in 2009 because WIA was not inaugurated until 2017. I don't really understand
2018.
18. I don't understand that big disconnect. That was when I think Winston Tubman was leading the party. There was many unclear things. So it looks like he's somebody who left CDC because he didn't like certain things, but as an actual formidable candidate in himself, no. Not really. He's not really. He's not there.
I know you. I know you're pressing against time here too.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. So here's the thing. Jimmy, you hit the nail on the head. They have these seditions that were promised jobs. Okay? And they had this expectation. They sat in America. CDC USA, they sat in America. And they did all this underground work and they were promised jobs. And after CDC won, and they started to see their appointment sheets, they got disgruntled and they abandoned CDC. And so now they're trying to make their way another way into Liberia. Here is a man that has not been to Liberia since, I don't know what, 1999 when he left. He doesn't even understand the landscape. He has not. I'm here. Look, I'm not a rich man. I've been blessed. Okay, but I'm not a rich man. But I do what I can for the people of Liberia. It's not of my own making. I go out there, I raise money. It's when you try to ease the struggles and challenges of your people, it is not buying votes, it's empathizing with them. It's saying, my people, I get it, but yeah, the small one I get. I know Ebola going on, yes, small thing. I know right where COVID going on, yes, small mass. That's how you identify with the suffering of your people. All right? Here's a man that will come up and, like you say, he's a good talker, but talk is cheap. Any one of us here can spill things against. We can be a good opposition. But what do you bring to the table? How many people have you managed? What kind of budget have you, what kind of system have you run? All right? So lay that out for us. Then we can evaluate you. You sit here, you talk, and Mr. Gaiman, I'm very surprised at you. Okay? Because, look, the ANC has a very large platform. But we are smart enough to know that those are not things you put out too early, because then people have the potential to go in there and start to steal away things from there. We experienced that in 5 years ago. So we are smart about it, how we approach those things. All right? You cannot say that ANC does not have an educational platform. We run the only STEM school in Liberia. And you said, we got educational platform? Like, I mean, come on now. And I really wanted to find out from Mr. Finier. There's a residency clause in Liberia. Does he pay taxes? Does he own land? Does he own land? Has he established himself? Is he an American citizen? All these things these are things we want to know. He doesn't even know how many students in Liberia. Then you tell me you get education plan? We have done the hard work. People said that after 2017, people said that Alexander Cummings are going to leave Liberia, going to abandon Liberia and go back to Atlanta, Georgia. He has not left. All the time, Ben Finier has been sitting in America. Alexander Cummings has been in Liberia working, doing the research, doing the work, walking the lines. He's talking about the French president announced 6 months before. France has an established communication system. You get on TV in France, every French citizen sees you. So yes, you can afford to launch 26 minutes. Has he been to Salaya? Has he been to Lowato border? Has he been to Zwedru? Has he been to Kepamas? Look, just stop playing fun, man. Look, the Liberian people have suffered enough. We've suffered enough. We want serious-minded people to attempt to lead us. We don't want jokers. We don't want jokers. We really don't. We don't need that right now. We need the Liberian people to be focused and see for themselves who are with them and who they're playing in the same. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And to the people out there who want to know the ANC and what the ANC means, the ANC actually has a website, a functioning website that you can go to, ancliberia.com. You can go to it, and everything is on there for you to see. All right? And what is not on there is not on there for a specific reason. It's because we don't want CDC and we want other people going in there and stealing the material ahead of time. Okay? Ben Spinner talking about Alexander Cummings not knowing the economics of it. Who was the only presidential candidate in 2017 that talked about raising the budget to $1 billion? People laughed. Now today, CDC is embracing that and trying to build themselves up to $1 billion. They are late. They are behind. They are 5 years behind. Alexander Cummings talked about raising the national budget 5 years ago to $1 billion. And people thought it was fun. Now CDC is trying to come to that. Y'all continue to lag behind. We are going ahead, and we will lead this country, will lead Liberia into its greatest promise. And I'm glad to be a part of that. Thank you so much for the time. You know, I'm behind, but I had to stay and address that. I look forward to seeing you guys next week, Sunday. To our audience out there, come next week, Sunday. It's going to be an even more fiery show.
Right.
And I love focus on Liberia for that. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to exactly living up to the debate. We told you it was going to be fiery, it's going to be educational, it's going to be informative, it's going to be engaging. These are the conversations we want to have when we talk about debate. My brother talked about some things that gave me flashback. 2004, right after the war, I was in Liberia, and my former professor, Dr. G. Franklin Holt, called me to a meeting. At the time, he was at Monrovia College, UMU at the time, I guess it was. He called me and Charles Walker Bromsky to a meeting. He wanted to know why I wasn't supporting my homeboy. We all went to Bath High School together. Why wasn't I supporting Bromsky? Bromsky sat across the table from me. Dr. Holt was sitting, and the first question I asked was, where is Mrs. York? And we laughed about it. And then I had to be honest. I said, can I ask Councilor Bromsky a few questions? If he answered these questions, maybe I will make up my mind to support him in whichever way I could. So I asked Mr. Bromsky, and I said, from my analysis, Liberia's problem is this supreme presidency, where the president is the emperor. He decides who lives and who dies. And I turned to Honorable Bromsky and I said, are you willing to address the unitary system that we have in Liberia so we can convert to something quasi-federal where the counties and the towns can have local government and do revenue sharing, that 100% of the funding don't come to Monrovia. He told me he was not ready to address that, but he thought the unitary system works, just that we have bad leaders. Second question was, what are the plans that you have for all of these areas that are struggling? He told me exactly what Padmore just told me. I cannot give you my plans because people will steal them. This is 2003, 2004 fiscal year when I was in Liberia. For me to hear Mr. Padmore saying that gives me a flashback. It tells me the more we change, the more we remain the same. For someone as educated as we all are to say, if I put my engineering plan up front, somebody's going to steal it. If I put my public policy, somebody's going to steal it. To me, it makes me feel jittery. It makes me feel very uncomfortable. I think Mr. Fennell may have a point that these people do not have anything concrete to which they want us to hold them. It's a phantom. Until they can do that, I'm still skeptical. I think this coming thing is a phantom. I think it is not for real until when I look at Bromsky in the face and ask him, what do you have to address? And he didn't give it to me. I'm feeling that same discomfort that Cummings does not have that. That is my take. Next week, we are hoping that Mr. Fennell is going to be here. Fennell is going to be here to engage the Gonglo plan and the Gonglo group. These are the different ways we are going, because you have a lot of plans we want to discuss and do the comparison, and then we can contrast. And we throw it out there, and you, the Liberians, you will make the call. Mr. Eastman, take us out. You are muted.
We have a very important decision to make, 2023. This decision has to be well thought about because it will have consequences for the next 6 years. We have seen the performance of this administration, and this this election will also be a report card. It will also be a judgment on whether they did well or not. As much as we want to see every Liberian aspiring to be but give us something to go on. Give us some good traction. Liberians have been suffering for a long time, and the work that we require to get us out is very, very challenging. We're going to need somebody who will motivate people and get people to do the hard work that is required. Somebody who will be serious and somebody who will be honest. Somebody who is willing to battle corruption and stop all the things that are happening in the country. This 2023, we hope to see more good changes. As in my opinion, it's still up to the CDC, because they have the ability, the power, the resources to do these things. And it would be very interesting to see how things turn out, how the Liberian people render their judgment.
Thank you very much. Let me read a few names as we go. Fix Electronics, Aaron Goodwill, Rosalind Willie from I think she's from Switzerland. We got Aaron God will make a way. We got Stephen Sly, Agnes Bagley, Nathaniel Diva, William W. Slim King Bro. We have Vivian Ward, Leonard Addison Artland, Fretus, my boy from Lisbon. We got Peter Newville, Marvin Corder, Sam Wallow, George Williams, K.R. Kodak, John Johnson, Marvin Carter again. We got Matthew Deco, Flomo Livingstone, John Johnson, Hammer Harris, G. Gwen John. Thank you very much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Same time, Sunday, 6 o'clock. It's going to be hot. It's going to be Ben, the CDC, and the ANC taking on Team Gonglo. I think Brother Dejai is going to be here. Very, very, very astute, policy driven. He understands the Gonglo philosophy. He will be out here to educate us on the Gonglo plan. Until then, we say we are all Liberian. Thank you to our mother company, FOL, for hosting us. We are very grateful. Take us out. As usual, we say we are all Liberians.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people. Liberia, we want. Liberia, we want. Liberia, Liberia.